Oh, man, I'm going to cut wherever I want, but... All right. Hello, Internet friends. My name is Bay, and if you can't tell by my voice, I've been talking a lot the past couple of days. And this is a bit impromptu, because I'm sitting down here with Senpai.
Again, this year.
Yeah, again. And I wanted to clarify, because I call you that, but I've actually been calling you that, like, openly, and other people that I've bumped into here and there have actually started calling you that also.
Yeah, I've had that reference to me, and it's super weird that other people have picked up on it. Yeah.
Well, you write guides and
because
you do
the
math.
people that I don't know will say
Oh, well.
it, and then I get really confused.
But there are people out there that you write and you figure out, and you have your hand in a whole bunch of pots and trusting everyone else's sauce, right? So you're not just you've worked on now for such a long time that you're not just doing things for Shaman anymore. You're doing things for a whole bunch of classes, or you're helping with
Havoc as well, in particular at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, but then how many others do you still dabble with?
I used to do Warrior, but I don't at the moment. But I dabble with all the classes.
Yeah.
In and out. If someone asks me, then I'll have an opinion somewhere, I guess.
But we just got through BlizzCon. It is currently... This video's going to go up the same day I recorded. I'll plop this up online today, but it's Monday. You're heading back home.
That's true. I've got a very long flight ahead of me.
Yeah. So. But this year we have upgrades. And to prove... Obviously, I can't hear the footage right now or anything like that, but I've tested it. This is the same setup that I recorded my interview with Ian and Steve with Mike. And the same interview I recorded the Just Bants, which this is a Just Bants episode, with Mike again in the hallway outside the media lounge. I know how to do the audio if I have time to fiddle, but I sacrificed the audio quality of both of those because we basically just went. Like, I just put the cameras down, hit record, and this is the first setup that I've got. This is all Z stuff, my manager, and I only had time to play with it for a little bit, but I sacrificed time to set up for more questions. But I've actually had my interview. It was one of the first ones I think that landed.
I think it was, yeah. A few of the... It was the only one with audio that showed up.
Oh, really? There were text-based stuff?
Were written or transcribed.
Yeah, but it was... I've had it bounced into, I think, Spanish, and I think a Russian website just bounced it back to me, but they translated all the questions and put it online. And I got DM'd today saying they thanked me for, asking so many questions. So, obviously, Wowhead took it and tossed it up online as well. So there's written versions of the interview. But I think it was that Ian was obviously busy until about that time. And he only had one other interview, I think, maybe two max before Mike and I walked in. So I just wanted to get as many questions as we could. We didn't ask anything about 8.3 on purpose, because right now we basically think 8.3 is...
8.3 is kind of locked in.
It locked
almost,
in.
Yeah. The only thing that's missing is the rest of the raid tests, really.
Yeah.
And we're expecting it, I don't know, either the patch to be December or January, but the raid to definitely be January. So there's not that much room for things to change.
No. So that's why people are always asking about... I mean, it broke last night. Last night, I think, that, 1-ish in the morning, it was confirmed. Ian was obviously finally cutting loose, hanging out with folks at the Hilton Bar or wherever else, and he confirmed to Wowhead, I think it was to one of the writers, that there's no account-wide essences for 8.3.
And obviously the reaction to that is fairly, and rightfully so, a little bit not good.
Not good.
Because I think people were expecting it in 8.3, but...
I think, but he then went on to say...
They've hoped for it to come and they've expected it.
Yeah.
No one ever said it was going to happen, so...
He went on to say that they're probably going to look at reducing some of the requirements, though.
That would be a good idea.
Is helpful. That's how things roll. Yeah. Obviously, Blood of the Enemy.
That's
probably Conflict and Strife.
That as well, yeah.
Maybe even the raid essence, because it takes 3 freaking clears to do it right now for Condensed Life Force.
Yeah, because you don't want to force people to go back to the old raids to go and get the essence that they need still for this raid.
Yeah, so it needs to take a clear, I would say.
Yeah.
2 maximum.
Maybe give an easier way of getting rep in Mechagon.
So lowering the rep requirements for that one would be good too. Even though, because people keep asking about it and want to talk about essences, they're the biggest sticking point right now for not enjoying playing classes. But as you and I both know, and if you look in your achievement panel, a lot of things that become account-wide are things that the game can track as an achievement. Essences, outside of level 70 neck, aren't achievement tracked.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Blood of the Enemy is.
Right. But every single one would need to be to have them as a check mark that turns them on your account, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't make them like that. And they're basically made and created like enchantments. They're like multiple enchants
Yeah.
on your character.
The-
The back
going
end
to
is
the neck.
weird. Yeah. So making them account wide obviously sucks. We're not going to get it, but if they make it just easier, because they're not going to be made, they're a major part of our character, but not a major part of 8.3 because corrupted gear is, and the
Yeah.
whispers are, or the vision kind of mechanic, that kind of stuff. Then that's the segue. We don't know about gearing in 9.0 because they're basically live beta testing corrupted gear as that system. So what have you?
That's the
and your-
word specifically.
Yeah, what have you and the theory boys and the writer boys figured out about how corrupted gear might work and how it plans out? And
Corrupted gear. Right now, the only iteration we have is the one that they touched last, which was like a week before BlizzCon,
Mhm.
where they said that they're going to remove the variation on the corrupted levels.
yeah, it's like tier
So-
1, tier 2, tier 3.
And it's going to be like tier 1 is 5 instead of tier 1 is 5 to 10,
Yeah.
because that was a really bad idea. Probably the worst part of it. But the system itself still needs work, in my
Oh,
opinion. And I think almost everyone I speak to is in the same boat. There's still too many like problems and variations with it. There's too much RNG, which obviously the main sticking point of Titan Forging is that people don't like the RNG with it, that it brings.
Yeah.
And the balance between the affixes is way off, but obviously balance is something that can be fixed right up until the last moment.
Yeah.
The
Because
systems are just a little bit too far away from where they need to be.
yeah. And that's why I was like doing the right, because when they don't know about how gearing is going to work in 9.0 because they're using corrupted gear and how that feels and comparing it to Titan Forging and War Forging, or even going back all the way to Thunder Forging, I've heard rumors that they still want to do, not really rumors, just like discussion about how Blizzard still wants to have a gear system that isn't just gear is flat. Right? Ian and his team feel very strongly about they don't want flat gear, but that they want something. But they obviously don't want tier sets either, because tier sets to them right now are all something they don't really like, because they don't want to lock gear pieces for so long anymore. We're going to have locked gear pieces in Shadowlands anyway, because we're going to have the craftable legendaries. We also don't know if we're going to start off with like another neck or ring, or keep the cloak we have, leaving the expansion to the next. We don't know if that's going to just be something that still locks us.
I've heard the question of, is there going to be a universal legendary or item, and the response from the devs was smile, and that's a good question.
Oh.
So you never know on that front.
I just don't think they know.
That's true. I mean, we had so many locked pieces in BFA, right? We had 4
did.
at all times, and soon to be 5.
Soon to be 5. Yeah.
So maybe they want to pull back on that a little bit. I don't know.
I kind of like locked pieces though, because when we have 14 slots of gear, right? Is it 14, 15?
16.
I guess it depends on if you're dual wielding
If
or
you're-
two
if you-
hand.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it might be
sure.
17 or 18.
Yeah. So there are certain parts of that I, because I've always been going back and forth on this. Like, I actually want 1 trinket slot. We've talked about this before on past shows, I'm sure. Because 2, you just either come down to right now, even you are embracing, because just of numericals, the double on use meta, which doesn't. It's a small gain, but one overlaps the other, so
It's
they
really
both
specific,
lap.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not something that I think that's just the case of the fights have landed for that. But yeah, trinkets could use maybe a second pass, because there's so many different situations where a trinket will just be wildly over the top.
Yeah.
And then the other one that's not, but is boring, catches up, starts winning, or you have trinkets that interact with each other like coral and ink pods.
Yeah.
Are really, like, on their own cool trinkets, but when you start adding that in, everything else just disappears, and you only need those 2 trinkets.
Yeah. But with 1 trinket, you could have like that really impactful choice of a really strong passive that just works really well, or you can take that 2-minute or 1.5-minute cooldown trinket that syncs up with part of your class. That feels like it would, not want simplified, but it also it gets away from just having like a really powerful stat stick and then you're on use. Like,
Well,
there
like-
should be a choice there, I think.
Something like the Mechagon trinket is a good place they experimented, where you can have
Sure,
it on
yeah.
use, and then you can have your passive stats, and maybe you could add in a proc as well, and then you
Yeah.
just have like 1 item that's all bundled together.
Right. That's like that's almost multiple trinkets in one.
Yeah.
But you can still have another trinket.
Mm.
So they're the little things. But the gearing right now, they don't know. And that's why asking about it was difficult, and we never really are going to get a real answer, is because they're seeing how, because they basically had, old school Thunder Forging, the +6.
And then you had the Warlords.
War Forging.
And then
which was
you
up
had,
to the 10, yeah.
Yeah, and then you had the remaining Titan Forging that we've experienced now.
Which is the 15 or more.
And all the way to the top, yeah.
Yeah. And now that's all gone. So it's the direction they're going. And it ties directly to our class. And the reason why, I mean, Mike and I brought this up in our interview directly to them, is that it feels just the most important part of this, and how Blizzard design always kind of feels like from the outside in instead of from the inside out. Because right now, what we have for Shadowlands is a salad or a cake, and there's frosting on it, and they're putting sprinkles, or they're putting dressing on it, and they're putting croutons, but what's the lettuce? That's our class.
Yeah. Well, that was the biggest thing that I noticed with a lot of the interviews and a lot of questions being asked, is that they don't really... There's no meat on the bones to talk about classes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when the questions are there, they sort of rebuke it with, well, we're more interested in talking about systems this year. And unfortunately, as important as it is that the new systems are really cool, like I'm really excited about the tower and the maw, and the Soulbinds in particular, probably the thing that I like the most that they've announced. Acquisition method notwithstanding. The classes has been such a sticking point this expansion that you'd have hoped, after all the time in BFA where classes were just sort of left and said, we'll see you next expansion, that all of that dev time between then and now would have been spent on at least having something presentable for classes. I think that's one of the things that may have irked people. And don't get me wrong, I'm super excited about the announcement. I was really happy with what they said. But that's one of the things that I've seen echoed around. Yeah,
there are still icky points. I mean, not to like... I guess not to... It's not like a dig, but I don't know how long ago Halinka made that keynote.
That's... Yeah, because it does feel like it's a very...
It's very bare bones. Yeah. It's very flat. There's a comment on that, I suppose, that I guess you and I can both get out of there right here, like the middle of this video, depending on how long we sit here and talk. But, okay, shamans... fellow shamans, brothers and sisters in elements, can we put a moratorium on the searing totem is coming back just because the icon was the default fire totem?
The totems that I think you could argue that maybe those are the ones that they're bringing back, but I don't think that is. It's just placeholders for the elements.
Yeah.
Because you see there's one for each. There's a fire, water, earth, and air. Two of them aren't coming back. They're already here.
Yeah.
We've already got Tremor and Capacitor,
yes.
Or Lightning Surge if you want to be last expansion.
It's Cap Totem.
But it's Cap Totem.
It's Cap Totem.
And so they need to put a fire one in, and they need to put a water one in. And the most iconic fire one is Searing.
Yep.
Because people who don't play Shaman probably don't recognize the icons for most of the other ones. The only cooldown totem is Fire Nova, at which point people definitely won't recognize that icon because we haven't had it for
combustion.
6 years.
But it's also combustion, yeah.
And the best water one is probably Healing Stream. That's the first thing people remember that still exists. So they've just picked baseline totems, stuck them on there, and said, "This is what we're going to do. We're going to look at totems and bring some back. Whether it's any of the ones that they've shown or any others or new ones, that remains to be seen."
Yeah, new we don't know. Do you have a tier list or like a wish list of which one you want back, and why is it Sentry Totem?
Oh. Of all the things, if they're giving Eyes of the Beast back, they can put Sentry
Totem
in,
but we have Sentry Totem.
No one's going to use it.
And Farsight. Hey, Sentry Totem was pretty awesome for sticking in different places in Battlegrounds, to look back. Yeah, you watch the stables when you're not in the stables. That's how it was worked. Yeah.
But I'd like to see Grounding come back and actually be given a chance to.
Not as a PvP one.
Yeah,
I mean. Okay.
as a baseline totem.
Okay.
That'd be nice. I'd like Earth Grab to no longer be a talent and just be a totem.
Be the function of Earthbind. Be a root,
because you've seen this expansion that now that there's only one class that has access to a root, universally with druids, things like on Mecha Torque,
yeah.
They were super valuable and no one else could cover that job. And as much as unique utility is nice, I think it should usually fall on two things can do it, so you aren't sort of hard locked in.
Well, that's also a great segue point, too, that I was going to bring up here, is that we don't know what they're doing with the class buff and debuff system, because the original thought, when Halinka showed off that panel, was it looks like we're getting more. Because what if paladins get auras back and they're different? But they could really do something great here too, and shore up the problem we have. But we've been talking about this for probably the better part of the last year, and I'm sure different guide writers and theory crafters and other people in the raiding community also has as well, is that there should be a parity. So we've had these buffs before. Mop obviously was a bit extreme because every single class brought something.
More than one usually.
Right. But we have like Battle Shout, so why can't we have Strength of Earth back?
Yeah.
It would be the same thing. So you have a warrior or a shaman.
If we just have two classes that bring it, then it just eases your composition so much.
Yep, because warlocks...
If warlocks, the curses that they mentioned, if they get Curse of Elements back and Curse of Recklessness, they now cover the monk and the demon hunter debuff if you don't have
like, they need more utility, but I mean,
Yeah.
just for like peace of mind that you don't need just this class or just that class or you're nerfing your entire group. Granted, I wanted to go back to Legion with none of this crap.
Yeah, okay. but if they're locked in on the whole class fantasy of buffs, then the healthiest way to do it is to just spread it out a little bit.
Yeah. But I don't want to keep getting all this, like, the stuff that we normally nitpick, right? Let's turn a bit of the tail end of this discussion to the good stuff, which we saw. And Torghast looks like, as long as it's not island expeditions that go up, it would be a lot of fun.
I think Torghast looks super fun. It's kind of like Proving Grounds almost when you look at it. But
yeah, hopefully.
The dynamic system to it, the roguelike ability things that sync with each other as you go further and further into the tower, that the rewards are going to be... I don't know whether...
They have no idea yet.
As far as I've been told, the rewards are obviously the legendary crafting materials, which is super good.
Like a weekly, though. That's like your island expedition weekly.
Yeah.
But then you could still just keep going.
And some of the other rewards may be related to the Soulbinds, because the way that you unlock the conduits.
I'm sure there'll be anima there as well.
And there's going to be anima all over the place. Yeah. But those rewards, they seem like they're fun, which makes it encouraging to do. But then it goes infinite as well. It's like a community-driven thing. You could have competitions. Like you have an MDI style thing where you can have people do it if it's genuinely fun.
I brought that up to Method directly to a handful of the actual MDI runners, like to JB himself and to Mirez, and Gingy was sitting there hanging out. But I was, and I think Fragments, we were on a talking circle, as you happen at BlizzCon. And I brought up, you guys could make community-run events just for fun. You could do giveaway-oriented things around them. You could put prize pool behind them that weren't, like, monetary directly, just because, like, bragging rights. But you could do, how many floors solo in 15 minutes. You could do how many floors as a group in an hour. And you can have these, an hour might be a long stretch, but you don't know how long the pacing's going to be or how the feel's going to be. But you could have these runs get, like, kind of crazy, because JB even said, if you have a scaling system that is infinite, and obviously it'll get to a point where the game just kills you, but you could have these runs where you're seeing people on like floor 25, 26, they're like one person dies, they're still on 26 with the other group was at 27, like they can have these moments of tension again in a PvE environment that isn't. And then also you can have it with MDI.
That's the biggest thing that it would bring that MDI doesn't have. So as good as MDI
randomization a little bit,
it's random. Because MDI has got, from a viewer's perspective, the issue that if something goes wrong for one team early, usually then
they
the
lose.
The result and you're waiting for either the other team to mess up, or it's over. It's 20 minutes of waiting for the inevitable. Whereas if it was random, maybe the guys who are climbing and doing really well now hit a floor that's just completely anti their group or what they've built, and then another group, they picked some abilities that are really good on their next floor, and they thunder through it, and then they get ahead again. It's a little bit more volatile, which is what sometimes competition like that needs.
I mean, to this day, like a decade later, I don't know if you keep up with any of this stuff, but I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and specifically Northern Lion, who's really big into the Binding of Isaac community. He's done a couple of these before, but really it's like Cobalt Streak and a handful of others that like really do Binding of Isaac stuff. But like a decade later, there are still Binding of Isaac speedrun, like head to head, like 4-player or more, like because every seed's gonna be random, but it's you have 20 minutes or whatever their parameters are, and they just do a run, and whoever gets the farthest in the run, like wins that round or whatever. And that's almost the same effect, right? Because like you said, you could start off with like early game builds on your solo party, your 3-man party, your 5-man party, whatever, whatever the community wants to make, and pick like early game power, but then the other team might build things that require like multiple floors to like make a build and hope for the build, and then that could turn on and then change the whole run for them.
Yeah.
And you can see these all, and they're never gonna have the same floors.
You see
so
it
you
almost
always
like auto chess. The way
Auto-
that
yeah,
that
sure,
works.
sure.
And so you have people who build for economy, and you have people who build for an end game
Yeah,
composition. That's
yeah.
what those abilities would come together like. And since it's infinite, since you can do it alone, since you can do it with a group, you just do it on your own schedule.
Yeah.
Which
which means you can still kind of practice it too.
And so if you're like really into doing it as a group, or you could still go in there when your friends aren't around, go in and see what it's like, see
Very
how you
exciting.
can optimize yourself a bit more, and,
Yeah.
and then transfer that to the group. As a system, I mean, I know Islands is the thing that people will compare it to because that's the infinite content, but this seems like
Yeah.
it's way more rewarding because it becomes challenging, whereas Islands was very flat. You know, you get
Always
to the point
flat.
where you can clear it fast, and then that's it, you just keep clearing it fast.
Yeah, I only do PvP islands most of the time now on my weekly stuff because actually it has the player element in it that can
Yeah.
make it different. Because if the players go for, the extractor or they go for the portals, like I've had some really fun fights where you fought over the portals that have like the 3,000 AP inside of them, right? So those have added some dynamicism to it. But if you just do mythic islands or whatever, it's just like pull half the island, AoE it down,
Done. Yeah.
And it's not fun. But yeah, Torghast seems really neat.
The maw that surrounded it seems like
If-
it could be really cool.
It sounds like they want the Maw as a zone to feel like classic WoW, where pulling like, a mob or two might just kill you.
It seems like
If they do it.
like a from the way they described it, it's like a very Mechagon-y kind of place.
Sure.
Where there's a lot of things going on that you don't strictly need to go and do,
Sure.
but maybe it's something that you want to do today,
Yeah.
or that you need the rewards from here, or you just want to go in, do one thing, and then leave, because you aren't encouraged to stay there for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, the longer you stay, the more difficult the zone gets on you, or the weaker your
Yeah.
character might get, or some other combination of events.
The only question mark that I didn't see answered, though you might have seen it, that as to if you go in and do something and then you leave, it gets too dangerous and you leave. Is there any kind of cooldown time?
Oh,
for
yeah.
it? Because if you say you want to go and do the tower, and you go into the maw, and you get beat up a lot, and you don't make it to the tower, and you had to leave, and can you no longer go into the maw? Do you have to tell your friends I'll be there in half an hour?
Yeah, will it be like a debuff on you
Yeah.
you can't get rid of? You can't just log out, bait, and then like remove? Yeah, we don't know. Those
So-
are things again,
We'll know in alpha, I assume, or beta. But until then, we only have those things. But
and then I guess, because your flight is actually soon, so we can't keep him too long.
that's true.
But the last little major huge part of the dressing on this salad is obviously covenants, which to like have a half and half on this one, the cosmetic stuff, what we've been asking for a long time, having that player agency, the player customization, the character and race customizations that are coming. We had Steve confirm in my interview with Mike again that the engine isn't like being overhauled, but basically
Just
what
being
a lot
touched
there'll
up.
be a lot more tickers essentially to unhook all the things to actually make your character how you want to make it. There's gonna be no sliders. Like WoW's not gonna have sliders.
You're not gonna have like horrific Dark Souls.
No, gosh,
abominations
no.
With giant cheeks. And
But there'll be when you like a demon hunter or when you make like allied races now, you'll have a lot more of those boxes
Yeah.
for every race, and that combined with obviously the different like I'm gonna probably
like
go
the
night
wings.
like night face stuff. I'm
Yes.
ready for that, and then the Soulbinds having their own type of stuff with them too, and how your Covenant has a story, and how your Soulbind has a story, and obviously it has the overarching game is going to have that more linear story to talk you to play you through
to
everything.
set you up for the.
And then your ults can do whatever they want. So that's a lot of really good things. Which Covenant are you going to pick?
I'm just gonna obviously I'm gonna be contrary to say I'll pick the one that ends up looking like it's gonna be the best for raids.
Yep.
But the Covenant that I like the most is the vampires.
Oh
because they
my
look cool.
god!
It's like Castlevania, isn't it?
You're
And
with Mike on that one because
I think it was super awesome when those and Bonsamdi's guys, the
Necrolords?
They look pretty cool as well. But I'm big on the.
they're not going to be
vampires.
called that. They're going to be called the Edgelords.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
The vampires have got like
Yeah.
a
Who's
very-
edgier?
The vampires have got like a really Bloodborne-esque like aesthetic to their zone, which I think is super cool.
Very Dracula as well. Yeah. Very.
Yeah, and the first raid is there, so
That is true.
obviously they're going to be good.
That's
for
the next part.
bosses there
That's what's interesting about this setup is that I wonder if they might plop like a raid in every zone.
in each of the Covenants areas.
They might have
yeah.
like mini raids in some.
Yeah,
But
that
there'll
could
be like 5 raids because there's 5 raids in BFA.
Yeah, so they could do small raids. Or
Yeah.
they could do like a split tier.
And
Like
we
in
know we're going to end in the
Jackson.
mall,
Yeah,
I imagine.
that would
Last
be the
raid.
assumption. Yeah.
Right, sure. But that's awesome for them to like make all of them very different. But yeah, no, I was on the stage when they were doing the deep dive panel, and I was looking at the stuff, and like Bastion came up, and we were like, cool. And Life came up, and I was like, yeah, all right. No, my inner druid from way back in the day feels that, and I'm in for that. That's neat. For my Shaman, at least, I don't know, my Demon Hunter will probably whatever the best one is, I don't know. And then they get to the vampires, the Castlevania theme, the Venthyr, and I'm standing beside Mike. He's in a chair looking back, and I'm essentially right here, and he just goes, mate. Just looks at me and just nods. I was like, all right, you okay, edgy boy. But
they are it's the zone aesthetic that gets me the most. That like, if I'm gonna hang out somewhere, it would be like this big, over the top, gothic, Bloodborne kind of thing.
Hopefully, it actually
not
is...
that it's very Shaman-y, but I can live with that because none of them are very Shaman-y. But I like them. I hope that the Covenant abilities aren't the thing that decides which one you pick. And I know that that's like the worry that everyone has. So when I looked at the mage things that they showed, that came across a lot like all 4 of them were like different flavors of the same ice cream. Like
correct.
They're all like mid-range cooldowns. That you know, one makes you do a little bit more damage for your next 4 spells, or one gives you haste for 15 seconds. It's still the same thing, right? It's just a little bit of power on a cooldown, a little bit of power on a cooldown.
Oh, they look different too. Like they have different animations.
They'll have aesthetics, like the essences.
Yeah.
But I'd like to hope that they're all like different cuts of the same cloth.
Yeah.
And that the thing that dictates which one you pick is probably going to come down to the Soulbinds. At which point there's going to be 3 different ones. So hopefully every Covenant will have something that's
there's 12, potentially more if the Maw becomes like a 5th Covenant later on or something. Right? Because people want to go like, well, what if we want to Soulbind to Sylvanas or whatever, you know, and they want to go that route. But then the Alliance and Horde aesthetic is still a thing. Horde and Alliance can't play together. They're still keeping that as a pillar of World of Warcraft, unfortunately. But then there's the one part, again, like the half and half part that I preface with this topic, is that the Soulbinds, like the talent tree they have, basically the Soulbind you pick is essentially, instead of a artifact weapon you're holding, like from Legion, the artifact weapon is just the Owl Man
the dude
or the Fey Druid guy.
You're really good friends with.
Yeah, and he just stands there, and his interface is just your artifact, just simplify. But it's kind of Nether-like Crucible-y, because apparently, as people were figuring out, they're consumable to slot things in, or...
What the word on the street is that I've heard is like they're a mixture of essences and relics.
Locked in ones, but then ones you can move.
You get the items to unlock the thing.
Sure.
So say you do the tower and you get to like level 10 and you get an item in a box, and that's the conduit. You put that in and then you've unlocked that then.
Yeah.
But obviously that's just third, fourth hand information from some of the people.
But again, they might not even
know who was speaking to them.
The images we saw of that system are probably so early.
Oh, absolutely. Funnily enough, the thing that it reminded me a lot of when I saw it on the screen is the Diablo 4 skill trees, where they have...
They are similar,
there's like a line down and you have an option 1 on either side. That was what the conduits looked like. Which, funnily enough, makes it basically a second talent tree.
It does.
And it's just for like passive boring things that anyone can use, rather than it being your abilities or those, which means that they're probably going to be quite strong, but they're also going to be available to everyone.
Yeah. We don't know yet if they're doing any major... They said that like, no major class changes, but obviously we're going to lose the Essence system. So then it comes down to... Essences and Azerite are going away. So it's definitely going to pull back the veil. Mike and I talked about in our interview, are they going to keep adding more and more layers of this cake eventually? Because we went from legendaries to... we had legendaries and artifact weapons, and then we added on the Concordance system and more slots. Then we added on Netherlight Crucible and Legion. Like every major patch added just more cake layers, more frosting.
Just like in BFA.
And BFA's at a 3-stage system now too.
We had Azerite, and then we had Azerite with an extra ring, and then we had Essences.
And now we have Corrupted Gear.
And then we're going to have Corrupted Gear on top of that, and then you even got Benthic thrown in there for good measure.
So they keep doing that. So Ian definitely wiggled in his chair a lot when we asked him if they're going to keep doing that.
It's pretty... I get the feeling that might be either... If everything goes swimmingly at the beginning, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
But history implies that it might not go swimmingly at the beginning, which is the same with all of these systems. That there's always teething problems.
So we'll definitely see. But overall then, what is your thoughts on Shadowlands so far? What
I
is
know
your
I've got my shell
what's
shirt
your
on.
yeah? What's your hype level?
I'm
What are your
I was really excited about it. I've never been to a BlizzCon where they announced an expansion, but I thought it looked really cool.
you here last year and it was like
Oh, I don't have a phone.
Wait, no, your phone's just very British.
But I mean, I was excited for Battle for Azeroth, and look how that turned out with a lot of people. Even though I enjoy it probably more than most people.
But you play basically one character, so a lot of that stuff feels fine on you.
I play everything.
Right,
but I spend a lot of time on one. But I was excited. I thought the introduction, the cinematic, the art style was really good.
Oh man, yeah.
It's super different as well. It's very like a new type of a new part of the game. Instead of it retreading the old storylines or this and that, it's just completely new. I really like the systems that they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of class changes scares me for now, but we'll see in beta. And the raid, even though it was a picture, I mean, a big castle with a gargoyle on it, it looks really cool. If that's where I'm going to be spending a lot of my early time in expansion.
Yeah.
So I probably I've not been as excited for an expansion for quite a while. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's helped by the fact that I'm quite looking forward to BFA being over. So I'm...
Yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
So, yeah, I think suitably high hype levels.
Yeah. I think I agree. I was on the Weekly Reset Live, which if you haven't watched that, sort of an end plug, the Weekly Reset Live, Taliesin Nevitel's Wondrous Wisdom Show. I was part of that end tail, and I helped record it. So if you haven't watched that yet, please do, because more of that stuff kind of comes out in that discussion. But I sat next to Patrick Beja, and openly both said, as we became basically shill brothers in arms, as he introduced himself as a Blizzard shill, and I was like, oh, really? What are you saying? But he said about 80% of 100. That BB minus range. And that's where I feel right now, too, because I think a lot of it comes down to we almost want, less announced because we want less systems that just muddy up the works. And we basically have just the Soulbinds and just the tower. And there'll be, our gearing in there somewhere. That's, the third thing we're waiting to see. Because in BFA, they announced, this and Azerite, and now it's all going to do this stuff. And then we got Essences eventually later on when they messed up Azerite. And there was all these things that just kept bumping onto it. We didn't even know what Warfronts were when the game launched, really. And they were just, non-issue.
And they were not a thing that anyone really...
So we had the same kind of feelings, though, when they gave us new shinies. But I agree. We can say the same things we said 2 years ago, oh, BFA looks awesome. And then 6 months in, we're like, oh.
Oh, no, not again.
Yeah, so we could have Shadowlands could be the same thing. And we get in there and we run a lot of Torghast, and it's fun at first, and the Soulbind system is fun at first. Then 6 months in, we're like, oh, hopefully not.
Some of the things that they are saying though, do give me a thin ray of hope that it has been 4 years almost of some of the things that they're doing being suggested, of people saying we don't like RNG on
been
here,
a while.
We don't like doing this, we don't like doing that, and they're finally saying, right, okay, maybe we need to stop putting the blinkers on and ignoring what everyone's saying, and maybe we do need to put some abilities back. Maybe we do need to add more freeform content than people can do that they don't feel forced to do.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't need infinite grinds. Maybe we don't need all of these things to fix things that weren't a problem anyway.
I can put that down here too, two confirmed things. Are you with me in the fact that it's not called anima, but it's the power of anime?
Power of God and anime, which is on my side.
And that Ian even said and confirmed that the weekly anima grind for power progression is going to feel hopefully more of a Valor cap.
I would hope so. The problem is that obviously if you don't put a limit on it, then you have to protect players from themselves when it comes to the top end, because if there's no limit, then you've already seen with the island grinding that happened. If you can't stop them, or if you don't stop them, then you can't stop them because they will keep going. For whatever reason, however small the reward is, just to prove that someone is crazy enough to do 16 hours of islands a day. But I hope that it's a bit more limited. I hope that it's not as important, because obviously the binary have-not of Azerite has been super bad this time round, where it's if you're 64 then the only thing that you have there is that you're not 65.
Yep. We'll see. But I think if that system has like a bar you can fill up, or like deposit whatever this currency will be, once per week for the power push, and then anything else after that would go to like a different vendor that accepts it for like cosmetics or your back stuff or whatever else or things of that nature. So you literally can only ever have so much a week that actually pushes your power. That would be such a breath of fresh air. We're ready for that.
Oh yeah.
It's still a grind. Like it'll still be like an AP grind. Just an anime
Very
grind.
conveniently
Just an anime
use the
grind.
same acronym.
Well, again, I said
But
Ian.
Artifact power, Azerite power, anime power. Come on, guys.
But that's gonna be it. This man has to get a ride to the airport to go back on your amazing flight all the way back home.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll talk more later. Senpai, it's always a pleasure.
You too.
Everyone out there, thank you very much for listening and watching. Obviously, all of Wordup stuff is in the description box down below. Again, check out the 2-part interview that Mike and I did with Ian and Steve. There's more there to be had. Sorry the scuffed audio, but again, I can prove I can do it. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye. Wave bye at the nice people. Wait,
Bye.
He did it. Look at that. Yeah. We've done it.